Breakfast, a Saturday morning edition, and we're moving on. Nigeria's economic reform debate has entered another politically charged phase, with the government defending the achievements of President Bola Tinubu's reforms, while the opposition questions whether the gains have translated into meaningful improvement in the lives of ordinary Nigerians. The latest argument has been shaped by the remark of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, who said President Tinubu's economic reforms helped Nigeria avert a potential economic collapse. At the same time, former Vice President and 2027 presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has promised to restore petrol subsidy if elected, reopening one of Nigeria's most contentious economic debates. Joining us for more of this is the convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Dr. Oludare Marindoti. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
I'm good, Toma. I'm good, everybody in the studio.
All right.
Good to see you.
When Atiku came out and said, vote me president and I will bring back, what's it called, fuel subsidy. How did you react?
Well, it was kind of funny and shocking to me, which reinforces what I've always believed. But if you look at it, Atiku in himself in 2022 said he was the leader of the subsidy removal. They were the ones that removed the subsidy on diesel, which is actually the fall of the economy. And in 2022 also, he said that he was going to remove subsidy. So if he wants to bring it back now, the question I think he failed to answer is what changed? I know a lot of his, spokespeople have gone out and tried to say that what he's trying to do is sell crude at a subsidized price, right? But we all know that, when you refine crude, maybe about 56% or so is what comes out as petrol, about just a little over 50%, right? So the rest are going to be diesel and the other byproducts. So how do you recover that cost? Because the government also has its own obligation. You have to remember that, when we removed this subsidy, there was also an increase in the salaries that is being issued out to people. So is he now going to cut down the the salaries that the people are already now getting right now? Because I don't know how he wants to finance both. But I think one of the mistakes that has occurred eventually, over time during the course of this product is also the fact that the way by which the reforms have been explained, and that's why I'm so thankful that someone like Taiwo Oyedele, who is a very ardent, potent communicator, is the one in charge. Because one of the things that they've been saying is that we are saving money not from the removal of subsidy. But Etoma, if you were addicted to Isiewu and you used to borrow 10,000 naira from your colleagues every week to buy Isiewu, and now your doctor told you should stop eating it because it's bad for your kidney and you have stopped, can you say that you are now saving 10,000 naira or you stopped borrowing 10,000 naira for Isiewu? You see, I think it is that misnomer that is making a lot of people get confused, because people will say, yeah, we are now saving money from subsidy removal. Why are we now borrowing money? Or where is this money? We were borrowing money to pay subsidy. Our debt service alone was almost 100% of our revenue. So we're borrowing money to pay subsidy. And so if this guy wants to bring it back, he's also definitely trying to bring back what I have always called a welfare for the wealthy. Because if we look at it, if all Nigerians at home hearing me right now can think about the volume of fuel that they consume personally every day, the average, according to National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, the average household consumption, not personal, household consumption is about 2 liters per day. So how much subsidy is coming to you? Now, let us contrast that with someone like, let me just say, Sheyi Tinubu, the son of the president, whom, according to Wole Soyinka, he said he has an Amada that works with him. How much is he spending on the fuel that is putting in the cars that is moving all his businesses around? This fuel subsidy is, if there's a subsidy on something, you have to consume it. Okay. So if you don't have money to consume it, that means the subsidy is not coming to you. And at what opportunity cost? These people are asking for ability to be able to fill their tank at a cheaper price at the expense of the Almajiri child that has not been taken to school, at the expense of the hungry child in Nigeria that does not have food to eat. That is what they are asking for. And a lot of times also people tend to model the two separate debates of the fuel subsidy and the dollar subsidy, because I think the dollar subsidy by volume is definitely the biggest, welfare for the wealthy that we also stopped. Because back when we had multiple exchange rates, Etoma, if you are going to be honest with yourself and everybody at home, you weren't seeing the official exchange rate. It was Emefiele that was determining who got it, right? And if you look at the spread, it is always going to be lopsided towards the rich.
Mr. Marindoti,
so that is why I'm surprised that he's bringing it.
Absolutely, you have to be surprised, because some Nigerians will tell you that the analysis made by Taiwo Oyedele that the FAC allocation has increased to about 2 trillion naira, and especially in June, it's about 2.8 trillion naira. So how is this getting to ordinary Nigerians who are not civil servants? Because you argue that salaries are being paid at the moment. Some Nigerians are still hungry, and they are saying that we're not seeing the dividends of this increase in FAC allocation. So how do you address this? Because some of them are still saying that, yes, more money is getting to the state governments, but we are not seeing it in our lives. What's your reaction concerning this?
I agree with you. You're very right. The president tried to get local government autonomy through the Supreme Court. I had always believed that the only way you can get it is through the constitutional amendments. And this one, that the states want state police, they all want to be able to control the police. You can use it as a bargain. You sign both the state police, and we restructure our government so that we can have a properly constituted third tier of government, whereby the constitution dictates the means by which they are going to be removed and the frequency of their term and all those things, so that we can have money go to the local government too. But you are right that majority of Nigerians are not civil servants. But in a state like Ondo State, where we call it civil servant state, the civil servants are the ones that determine the motion in the economy, because they are the ones that get the salary and they buy other things from people who are not civil servants. So whether we like it or not, it still gets to the to the people. But the inflation is still high. And I know that I saw on TVC that FCCPC did a survey, and they came out with something on cement. They should do the same thing for rice and wheat, so that we can compare how much they are buying it in Nigeria to how much they are buying it in Ethiopia. Because I have said this on this program for a very long time. I think BK on that program said he was confused why the cement that the price that Nigerians are paying for those things are so high. It is because of protection. And Taiwo Oyedele said in Kigali a few months ago that we cannot be protecting companies in perpetuity, because this protection is putting burden on the people that is negatively affecting the fiscal reform that the president is trying to do. If they can remove all this protection, inflation will come down. The people will be able to do more business. Cost of building things is going to come down. We will stop protecting inefficiency, because that is what we are doing. It is a very complex story if we want to compare what happened in the 70s, where we had so much money and we spent all that money to the point whereby we now had Dutch disease to now.
Doctor,
right? So those are the ways where I feel like they can tweak one or two things.
Dr. Marindoti, you have said a lot, and you have given us a lot of the reasons why the subsidy removal was the way to go. However, and I'll ask this, I will try and speak with the voice of Nigerians. At what point are we going to see, or are Nigerians going to see a reduction in price of products and services? Because things are still very high, just like you have said.
Well, yeah, you're right. So let us look at it from this point of view. If you took your phone right now and try to convert $1 to 1 South Korean won, it's going to be about 1 naira to 1 won, right? It's about the same. So the problem is not necessarily the exchange rate. It's the people put so much emphasis on it. The problem is how much money you are making. If you could recall, if you watch Squid Game on Netflix, you see that they were having 200,000 won Korean notes, right? The most important thing is how much money Nigerians are making. We need to be able to get productivity back up. We need to be able to allow our people to feed. We need to be able to fix security so that our farmers can go back into the farm. But also, we cannot keep protecting a system whereby 80% of our population is needed to feed 100% of us. In America, it's less than 5%. So that is an inefficiency that we cannot keep sustaining, that we need to reform so that we can increase output without putting too much manpower in it, because we have technological advancements. Those are the things that can really, really bring back the dividends of them of these reforms. There's an economist that said import duty is substituted devaluation. We cannot devalue our currency and then still keep import duty on all the things that Nigerians need to survive and now complain that our people are paying too much. They are going to pay too much because the people that have the access are going to exploit the market. And that is what is happening with all these ban, trade restriction and all of that. If we allowed freedom of trade today, remove import duty on rice, flour, and things that we need to eat, magically the prices of all those things will come down to a reasonable level. Then Nigerians will now start growing. We will need to grow ourselves out of this place, but we cannot put a put ourselves in a straitjacket or put a noose around our neck while trying to expand. Because all this import duty, they are a burden on trade. That is the one important thing that is missing.
You're suggesting that the federal government remove the import duties. Is that your suggestion?
Yes, they need to remove it. They need to remove it. Why is cement 15,000 in Nigeria, according to the FCCPC report that came out this week? Why is it 15,000 in Nigeria and then it's maybe like 6,500 somewhere else? It's because of the protection. If Dangote can export his cement and compete in another man's house, why is he not wanting to compete in his own house? I used to think that home game was the easiest to win. So those are the things that are causing the extra burden that is preventing Nigeria from accelerating at the speed at which is supposed to accelerate. Okay. And Taiwo Edele has been saying these things since 2023. Thank God he is there right now. I hope President Tinubu will listen to him and remove this thing. We cannot protect in perpetuity. We no longer have infant industry argument for some industries.
All right, let's go back to the fuel subsidy removal and Atiku's claim that if he becomes president, he is going to bring it back. One of the arguments that supporters of Atiku say is that the subsidy itself really helped Nigerians. I mean, Nigerians were buying fuel at very reasonable prices because of the subsidy, but that what needed to get out was the corruption embedded in the system. Do you agree with that?
My grounds against the subsidy had never been the corruption. Corruption needs to go, and the people who were guilty need to be dealt with according to the law, right? Yeah. But fuel subsidy was welfare for the wealthy. My grandmother died last year as a 95-year-old woman living in Okakoko. She never bought petrol in about 10 years. We call her Mama Tupa. She didn't have generator. She cooked with wood. So how is she getting fuel subsidy? If I put subsidy on NSC, you have to want to drink NSC for you to be able to get that subsidy in it. That is what is going on. So yes, subsidy was an illusion in terms of like maybe Nigerians are buying cheap fuel, but even majority of Nigerians, look at less than 2% of Nigerians, it's about 10% of households in Nigeria that has cars. A lot of people that have, I better pass my generator, they don't use 10 liters in a week. Majority of Nigerians are poor. They don't even make up to enough money to be able to buy fuel. So this fuel subsidy was always a subsidy for people like Atiku, for people like Tinubu, for people like Peter Obi, who had money, who had cars, who have businesses and industries that are consuming this fuel. That is what it had always been. And I don't know why the most potent argument, which is the poor versus rich argument in the defense of these policies, the administration try not to make it, maybe because they don't want to look bad because they are also rich. But they are the rich men are the ones that can buy fuel. I'm pretty sure President Tinubu does not buy 50, 40, 100 liters of fuel. He buys tanks of thousands. So if you put subsidy on fuel, it is the people that are buying it in thousands that will consume all the subsidy. The amount of subsidy that a rich man will get in a day, a poor man may not get it in his own lifetime. And if you look at that if you look at the opportunity cost of doing that subsidy, those are the things that I'm talking about. Education that we will not have, the roads that we are not going to have. You can see they are able to now, at least, even if we can criticize the government, the state governors, that they are building a bridge to nowhere, we can still say that at least they are creating that job and they are spending it for their people. So we cannot take money away from the people and put it in subsidy that only the rich men are going to consume. Atiku is complaining because he's spending so much money to sustain his lifestyle right now. Because the Nigerian government
I don't know why
subsidizing it.
This is now a campaign issue at the moment, because in the build-up to the 2023 election, the three candidates all said that we're going to remove the subsidy. So why is Atiku bringing this back? That's one. But who do we hold accountable in all of this development? The president has done his best to increase the FAC allocation to state governors and also brought about the local government autonomy, the landmark Supreme Court judgment. what should be the role of the governors and also our chairman in the country, that local government chairman, to ensure that all this benefit from the federal government trickles down to the people at the grassroots? How do you react to this?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start with your first question. You know, when your sole position is opposition, you are going to be coming up with asinine policies. Like Peter Obi has said also that we cannot be unifying our exchange rate until we turn consumption into production. And my question to him is that how are we going to get the money to invest in the child of nobody so that he can be somebody without knowing anybody? If we have taken the money that we are supposed to use to invest in that child, we have used it to subsidize dollar. That is the same thing that Atiku is also doing. Their sole position is opposition. That is why they are coming up with whatever they think the people might want to hear, even though it is not at their own best interest. If you are having multiple exchange rates, exchange rate thing is even not a factor of Tinubu. It is a factor of what Emefiele had done, but we don't have time to talk about that. But when we go back to, this money is getting to I don't believe in trickle down economics. I believe you have to target the people actually. And I believe that a lot of even these food prices we have in all over the world, food stamps and all, whereby the state governments and the local government can come up with a system whereby they get grants from the federal government and they give people cards to buy food like rice at a certain volume for a certain percentage of the price, and that will bring down a lot of burden. But a lot of governors want to build bridges and flyovers because that's how they can make money. Well, the only way we can do it is bringing about democracy, effective democracy and accountability. And we are not going to be able to achieve local government autonomy until we allow local government and states to earn their money and we go and do our constitutional amendments. Because that is why they went to get a judgment from the Supreme Court, but they can't enforce it because the judgment was, I'm surprised the Supreme Court gave it in the first place. The Supreme Court, I believe, could have said, you pay the money to the joint JAC account, but the governors have no right to spend the portion of the state, and that would be a form of a freeze. But the only way we can do it is to make sure that there's democracy at the grassroots. The people feel like they have ownership. They are the ones determining who is their local government chairman. Not like the situation that we saw in Ogun State, where local government chairman were prostrating for Dapo Abiodun and singing a lot of them were older than him. But because he's the one that put him there, is the FA, so they have to prostrate for him. We have to end that kind of a situation whereby local governments will be at odds with their governor, and there's nothing they can do. It happens here. Texas is a Republican state. The mayor of Dallas, Austin, they are all Democrats. So they always have, a little bit of fracas, but that is what democracy needs. Democracy is controlled chaos. So if we don't try to bring back true democracy whereby the people can recall their their votes count and they can record their representatives,
Mr.
it will be difficult for this money to trickle down to the people.
Absolutely. The campaigns are here already. We're seeing different banters. What a lot of Nigerians are saying, well, the reforms are here. So how do we ensure we go into issue-based campaign ahead of this election so that Nigerians can be well informed about the reforms of the president and how it is impacting in the lives of ordinary Nigerians, and how they can also hold their people accountable, those in leadership accountable, to give them the dividends of democracy?
Well, it will be difficult to have an issue-based campaign because a lot of people are hungry, a lot of people are not very thoughtful. I know, there was an election in Osun last week, and Governor Adeleke had gone to praise the president, maybe because of the reversal of the FCC decision or whatever. But the most important thing that President Tinubu did for Adeleke was the removal of subsidy and unification of exchange rates, because that was how he was able to see the money to build the bridges that he was using to campaign, right? So we need to ensure that the people know. It will take time, definitely. We have to understand that this reform started in 2023. It's just 3 years. 3 years is a small time in the lifetime of a nation, right? So definitely this reform is going to yield results over time. I feel like the pain has been unbearable because of the burdens that we are putting on. But to have an issue-based campaign, I no longer campaign or support President Tinubu, but I don't want to be in a position to be giving advice to the opposition who want to remove subsidy, or bring back subsidy or unify or bring back fake dollar exchange rates that will negatively affect the businesses in Nigeria. To have an issue-based debate is very difficult. So I don't think that is going to be possible.
Even when some of them, Mr. Marindoti, even some of them are yet to even give us their manifesto ahead of this election. So which way to go, Nigeria? Because listening to your analysis today, we know where the president is coming from. Some have argued that, why would the president just remove the subsidy suddenly day one, even before assuming day one in office? So, well, some of these people that we're talking about are even here to give us a clear-cut manifesto for the 2027 election.
And it is an attempt to give those policy proposals, because they are bereft of ideas. That is why they are suggesting bringing back, subsidy. I guess Atiku was probably just trying to trend. I think it was just a vibes policy position. I don't think he really meant it, really. I think he just felt like nobody has been talking about me for a very long time. Election is nigh, so let me just say something that will get the media attention. And now we are talking about him. So Atiku has survived. We see the shenanigans is pulling in US and all those things. He can keep beating the dead horse. It's not going to lead him anywhere.
That's a strong allegation, Mr. Marindoti. We need to be careful with our choice of words.
Okay, yeah, well. I really like it when you are the guest that we'll have to talk to, because you seem to have a lot of information about things, and the way you bring them out are so clear. I like the analogy between the issue thing and all that. That was nice. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being part of the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right.